Greetings and welcome to the energy of Aries. This is Ron from Tarot the Twin Sun. Mars is currently, at least for the time being, in July 1st of 2022. There is the energy of Mars as well as Jupiter in not exactly a conjunction, but with this, especially as it pertains to the 1st of July, there is a mystical quality that I would reckon you look into in terms of the ability for you to teach others through the auspices of Jupiter in the 12th or the first houses. A great deal of wisdom. I think for this time, July, there's a special auspiciousness that has to do with essentially dealing with the 5th house primarily, as well as second house in Gemini. So an ability to split your resources, your time, your energy resources, becoming not only a teacher but a student for others. The axis of Gemini, very strong. Gemini as well as, Sagittarius, very strong here. So with this, there's an ability also to live multiple or various kaleidoscopic relations with others, okay? Dealing with others in a very mystical way, being able to slide in and out of affairs, if you will. And the idea here is to not create any karma in terms of the 10th house with Pluto retrograde there. That's the biggest square that I see in your astrological composition. Now, a square with Pluto, okay, as it pertains to your first house, the energy of Jupiter as well as Mars, or could just be one or the other of them, means that your actions or your teachings, your zeal for producing this mystical effect for others may create tension in the realm of sex or in the realm of copulation. You have to be very careful with where you sow the seeds of pollination when it comes to the mystical aspects of what you're trying to produce. Even if you don't consider yourself mystical in any sort of way, there's something about the faith in the self, faith in the inspirational qualities and the pioneering efforts of Mars and Jupiter in the first house that actually produce effects whether you want them to or not. And the idea here is to not cross over into the realm of Scorpio affecting the karma of others, okay? Now that's the sort of catch-22. How do you do that? How do you provide that sense of being exemplary in some sort of way, being passionate about what you do and how you perceive yourself, how you show yourself to others through the ascendant? It is quite difficult in terms of that. I would recommend that your actions, even though they may not require any deal of thought or motivation, that they become a purifying element in which, through the mystical auspices of the first house, you are able, by your very presence, without doing much of anything, actually have a latent effect on the karmic ties you have with other people. Capricorn in the 10th house in Pluto in retrograde. Okay, so it's something to tend to or be conscious of for the time being. We will also look into a bit more of the karmic aspects that have to do with your progression in terms of a linear fashion that is moving, okay, towards what? I don't really know. Usually with Mars in the first house, as well as quasi-stellium being there and Jupiter, usually there is something about the actions that you are here to do that are totally free and freeing for others. They're actions of liberation, almost Ukrainian in design, you know, the ability to stand up as a rebel force against totalitarianism is a theme for this particular month and for you in particular. Now, if you're dealing with anyone romantically inclined, the 5th house is highly activated with Moon in Leo, and there is a harmonious aspect of the first house to that. And that means you don't really have to do much. because you're dealing with people here in a creative way in terms of their own emotional capacities. With Moon and Leo, there's a lot in terms of purification. With the Sun in Cancer, there also is this sort of motif of pushing forward and being affected um, by a sort of aspect through the principles of Bhavat Bhavam, which is a sidereal technique that I can go into. I'll try to provide a comment in terms of what I mean in terms of that, because I would have to look deeper into the chart. But for the time being, let's see here. There is a choice that is regarding the Martian capacities of Aries. That has to do with one or the other, looking forward into the future, making a choice that does not want to be made, um, choosing from a very wide pool of options when it comes to relations and in general humanitarian relations or relations in terms of friend circles. Okay, the thing is that um, you're choosing from the past or the future, and as you move to the past, there's a disorder that stems from things falling out or things not being rewarding in terms of being inspired by those connections. Even then, if you look into the future, there's a realm of not being really inspired, but then making the choice. What the choice leads to is essentially a Cancerian energy, the solar energy of Cancer, as you scale challenges by letting go of all of the choices. It seems to be the sort of irony here, fundamental principle that deals with the Ace of Cups and the hidden aspect. It has to do with a quest of some sort of calling. But the idea here is that even though the choices are there in terms of their capacity to hold some sort of meaning for your path, there is essentially, it's like it's effortless. It's something that is sort of just given to you. And it may be something that you don't really understand, but you're doing it anyways. The idea here is to address karma and to also note that in this there is the hidden aspect of releasing garbage or recycling this idea, okay, and then letting that idea go in terms of your own natural flow of things, okay, and that is the Aryan way. It's the Martian capacity to essentially do what needs to be done and to let that go in terms of judgment or self-reflection. So it's very mysterious. That's why I told you there's something about the auspices of July 1st in particular, not the lunations, but the celestial bodies, how they're moving is actually producing an effect of the mystical path, which is not to be understood in the light of day. We'll move now into the main reading, which is the 9 cards spread known as the Great Mirror. The Great Mirror is a tool devised by the Order of the Twin Sun in order to see particularities of karma that may be affected or are affected in terms of your connection with another person. Okay, please take only what you will. I do welcome you to like or subscribe if you're new, but the fun thing is I don't think most Aryans don't really like my work. It's funny. So let's move into the main reading. Ensemble. So we have désir here, nouvelle connaissance et incident. We have enfant, fil brun, enfant brun, nuit, dissension, and fil blanc. Okay, so generally speaking, there is a sense of arrival with this type of connection. This represents perhaps a shallow romance or something that has to do with infatuation or perhaps a passing thing. That's the thing. I don't think. I think you're here to inspire rather than be inspired. But at the same time, there is the 38, the 22, the 43. There is a pensive quality in the way things are produced, and perhaps even love itself is produced in such a way, with its commercial aspects or its ability to hold such little water, that does not have the ability to satiate the capacity of Aries right now. Two of Cups in reverse in the conscious aspect, the Queen of Rods in the reverse. This is not the most solid of connections when it comes to the capacity to bring forward rays of light or rays of passion. Um, the idea here is to I think the idea here is to honor the mystery in terms of human behavior. When it comes to the conscious aspect of trying to understand such a connection, the desire may be there to actually understand it, but it becomes more of a mystery the more you look into it. You're dealing with someone here that is unavailable in terms of their capacity to give you light or to shine light upon the passions that they may harbor but are hidden from you. This is a secret flame. This is also a dying light, if you will. So in it, there's the capacity to bring forward the idea of nouvelle connaissance, which is the capacity to choose, if you will, to also understand that these types of connections have to do with the vastness of Neptune. Okay, delusion, capacity for a bit more of the mystical aspects of such a connection to be extremely romantic, but also stretching over time. This is more of like a memory. This is a nostalgia, um, and because of such, the two horses that are within the chariot are in descent. They would rather not move. There's something about this that speaks of the inability to heal such a situation if it did require reparation. Um, yeah, I could go further into it. This person is very much operating in terms of the North Node within the auspices of Taurus, okay? And I'm not sure exactly where the nodes are, but I believe it's in the axis of Taurus and Scorpio, okay? And if this is a type of connection in which this person is acting upon the dragon's head and tail, then there's something about them that cannot be ridden. It's as if you're trying to train a dragon, or you're trying to have some sort of disciplinary, aspect upon the reptilian brain. It just can't be. Um, there also is a great deal of desire and foolhardiness when it comes to um, the ability to also, with the 8 and the 9, to find a healthy complexion of the mind and the inner world as well as the emotional realm. It just does not seem very much possible at this time and place. Um, ultimately, there's a delineation here from the Knight of Cups into the Page of Cups. Okay, it speaks about the reduction of quality when it comes to romance, or when it comes to the emotional capacities for this type of relation to survive. So an element of forgiveness, if this is, like I said, if there's a need for reparation, that is necessary for this to sustain itself. There also is a big pointing to the 8 of Cups, okay, which is usually indicative of departure, and then also the sense of arrival to something that has forever been cyclical in nature, something that has forever been uh, uh, a revisitation or a recycling, okay? So I don't really like this reading too much. Hopefully that has not resonated for you, but at the same time, this is what has been produced. In terms of advice, uh, Yeah, once again, there is the Two of Rods and the Three of Swords showing up, just like in the pre-read. There's something about this that has to do with the effortlessness that you do, that you that you execute. That has to do with essentially not thinking too much. That would actually be your saving grace. Yeah. All right. Bye.